Good evening. I'm Miss Kelly, the curriculum resource teacher at RSGA. Oh, good. You all can hear me, so that's very good. Thank you so much for attending our spring curriculum night. We're hoping that this event will give you some information as to where your child is currently performing, that we're able to answer any lingering questions that you may have. You should see posted currently our agenda for the evening. We're going to open up with a review of students' data and resources to help. So I will be opening, and then we'll transition to Mr. Branch after that portion of the presentation, when he arrives. Then we'll take questions that were submitted in advance, and we'll take the opportunity to answer those, and then find out any questions you may have at the end, and for you to share anything you would like to share with us. So we'll go ahead and get started. Everyone who registered, whether they're in attendance or not, received documents from me that detail how your student performed on iReady and some resources. Okay, you should see now a sample reading iReady diagnostic report. It took a moment to get that posted, so I apologize. The iReady results that you received were from our second diagnostic. You'll notice some areas that are circled in red. Those are the areas that we will discuss this evening. And I'm going to take a moment to circle one more. At this point in the school year, all students should perform at what's considered as the middle of on grade level. And so based on the information that is on the screen, for a student to be considered as on grade level for the middle of the year, they should have a score of 616 or higher in the area of reading. These are reading results from the iReady diagnostic. The range for sixth grade is a score of 598 to 653. You can see with this student's overall performance, the student is scoring at mid sixth grade at a score of 617. You'll also notice there's a green dot next to the score. Any areas where you see green dots, that means that a student is performing on grade level. So this particular student is performing on grade level with a score of 617. If you look further down, you'll notice that there's a blue line on this particular report. What that shows is where this student scored at the beginning of the year. The top of the bar is where the student is performing now. So this student grew 32 points from the beginning of the year to now. You'll next see the words typical and stretch. Those indicate the goals that are set for each student based on their beginning of the year iReady score. So based on this student's beginning of the year score, the goal for 1 year's growth was a 597. This particular student has surpassed the goal for the year, which is excellent. There's always a stretch goal as well that's called stretch growth. And that is an ambitious level of growth. Typically, we only use stretch growth at RSGA for our students who are currently performing below grade level. This student is on grade level and just happened to surpass the stretch growth as well. These numbers will be different for your child based on what your child scored at the beginning of the school year. You definitely like to see a plus sign. You definitely like to see an arrow. If you see neither of those, either it's because the student didn't take the diagnostic at the beginning of the year, or they may have missed the second diagnostic, or it's because the student didn't show growth from the beginning of the year until now. Sometimes you will see the little bar if the student grew a little bit, but sometimes it doesn't appear on the report. Next, we'll move over to the areas of reading where students are tested. All students should test out of these first three domains: phonological awareness, phonics, and high frequency words. We look at it 6th grade, the vocabulary, comprehension, and informational text. At this point of the year, this should say mid-6 to indicate that a child is at level. If it says early 6, that means that the student is performing typical of a student at the beginning of 6th grade. This particular student scored at late 6th grade in informational text. Literature is fiction, informational text is nonfiction. So this particular student has a strength in informational text. If you see any red dots or yellow dots on your child's iReady report, it's because that means that your student is currently performing below the grade level standard. And so that lets you know that that's in an area of development for your child. The next features we will take a look at are what's considered as national norms. Anytime there's a norm indicator, it means that your child's performance was compared to the performance of what's called a norm group of students, which means that the initial students who took the initial assessment when this was rolled out, it shows how your child scores in comparison to that particular group of students. This student scored at the 75th percentile. What that means is that this student scored better than 75% of the students who took the assessment when the norm group was established. An ideal score is a score of 50th percentile or higher, which this student has demonstrated. Lexile measures are used in determining what's called text complexity. And that means in terms of the rigor of the text or how rigorous text is, there's a document you received that's called a Lexile Parent Guide. And it explains to you a little more of how Lexile scores work and how you can support and monitor your child's reading progress with the Lexile scale. Going back to the report, this particular student scored at a level of 1090, and it gives you a Lexile range for the child. We're going to talk a little more about that in a moment when we look at a Find a Book feature that I'm going to show you. For each section of the iReady assessment that your child took, in this case, vocabulary, comprehension, literature, which is fiction, and informational text, which is nonfiction, what you're going to see in the report for each area, you'll see a numbered score, which you can compare to the overall score to see if your child was above the overall average or below. If your child was below in an area, then that lets you know that that's an area that needs to be developed. For each section, you're going to see what's called can-dos, and that shows what your child can do or what they've demonstrated on the iReady assessment. And then you'll see what's called next steps. And that lets you know areas that your child will need to work on. The report that you're seeing is not the standard report that we give to the parents. This is an adapted teacher report, but we shared this report with you tonight so that you can see some of the specific skills that your child may need to work on. And we recommend just taking one at a time and working on that particular skill. The tools and for instruction part, you won't be able to use those resources. Only the teachers have access to those, but we wanted for you to see an example of some of the skills that your child still needs to work on. And this is going to be for every section of the iReady assessment. I want to show you the Find a Book feature and how you can use Quantile Measures to help select books that are on your child's reading level. We're going to visit a resource site. I'm having a hard time getting through my documents, excuse me, that can help you determine how to find books on your child's reading level. So we're going to take a visit over there. Okay, you should see now a screen that says Lexile and Quantile tools at the top. For this particular site, you don't have to register, but if you do register, then you'll be able to save some of the information you'll find. The link to this website is included on the additional resources that were sent to you. I'm going to go ahead and sign in because I have an account. Now, once you're here, there are some tools that are available. If you go to all tools and select tools for parents, we're going to take a look at some of those. This site has tools for Lexiles, which are for language arts, and for what's called Quantiles, which are for math. And we'll talk about the Quantile section in a moment. But with the Find a Book feature, you have the option to select the child's grade, and then you can put the Lexile measure in. And if you'd like, they have different categories that you can search between. I'm going to choose science fiction and fantasy. And then there are even subcategories if there are specific types of books that your child likes to read. And you can also actually select more than one category. So I'm going to select fiction, nonfiction, and poetry, and science fiction. And then you can see all the different categories that are here. Let's see. I'm going to choose action and adventure. And you can select as many as you like. So we'll choose historical also, and science fiction. And some kids like paranormal, so we'll choose those. When you do, this section is typically for educators because I'm registered as a teacher. They show me all these things, but this is typically for educators only. So I'm just going to click search. And what this does is it gives suggested titles within the student's reading range that are recommended based on your child's interest. And your child could look for some of these titles in the Media Center or on our school's website. There's a link called Capstone that has digital books. And there's a site also called Epic that has digital books. And so those are some locations where they could look for these titles, based on those interests. There's also a feature that I'd like to show you called Wordless. You received this document as a part of the resources that were shared with you in advance. This is a great feature for building vocabulary. Vocabulary, we found at RSGA, is one of the areas where our kids need to develop the most. And so with this particular site, there are word lists that can be generated based on textbooks and content that students experience in school. And it shares academic vocabulary that's general, or you could choose social studies, math, science, or you could select all of them, which I'm going to just select all of them for fun. If you sign up for the site, and it's free, there's a premium version, but there's a free version also. I'm signed up for the free version. You can select whether you just want the words, or if you want to know the words in frequency, I recommend words and frequency. And then you can select a file format that you would like to download, whether you'd like to see them in a spreadsheet or PDF. Just for fun, I'm going to select both so that you can see what both look like, and then click download. And what you're seeing now is the spreadsheet version of the list that we just downloaded. And now I'm going to show you the PDF version of that same list. I prefer the PDF, but I wanted to show you both. This is the PDF version. The reason why word frequency, you want the word frequency included, is because what it does is it tells you with these words the number of times anticipated that your child will encounter those words between 6th grade and 8th grade. We found that on many of our unit assessments and even with the state assessment test, students read questions and ask teachers during the test what words in the questions mean. So because it's a test, we can't tell them. And what happens with some of our kids miss some of the information, not because they don't know how to do the content or not because they haven't memorized the material, but because they don't understand the questions and the words that are being used in the questions. So just based on the 6th through 8th grade experience, these words are ranked in order from words that they will encounter the most to words that they will probably encounter the least, but they will still encounter those words. A recommended activity would be with your child, just taking a few words at a time, not every single day, but a few days, just go through and just ask your child if they know the meaning of the word. If your child knows the meaning of the word, put a check mark next to the word or cross it out. If your child doesn't know the meaning of the word, highlight that word. Then once you've gone through the entire list, the words that they don't know, this is just a recommended strategy just to build their academic vocabulary. Have a set of index cards for each word they don't know. For example, if your child doesn't know the meaning of the word conjecture, have your child on the front of an index card write the word conjecture. On the back of the index card, write the definition of conjecture. And create a duplicate card so that for each one of those words that they don't know, there are 2 cards. The purpose for the 2 cards is they can use those cards to play concentration. On one side, have the definition. On the other side, have the word. Lay out the cards and have your child match the correct definition to the correct word, just to practice building their academic vocabulary. These words also, some of these words also appear on tests that are used on college entrance exams. It's amazing the number of words kids encounter that they don't know the meaning of, either because they haven't practiced them or they haven't been exposed. So that's just one activity we recommend. It will build their reading comprehension, it will build their academic vocabulary, and it will help them across subjects. You don't have to do what I did tonight and select every single area of that. Okay, we're back on the website now, but that's just something that you can do to build vocabulary. And even in math and science and world history, you know, reading is a very big part of all of those areas as well. So as many words that they have in their schema, the better. Okay, we're going to move over to what's called, and I'm going to have to move a little fast, so forgive me. And I forgot to state, if you have any questions about anything that we discussed tonight, please put it in the chat, or you can save it until the end when we open up at the end to talk. I'm going to go back now to the sample student iReady report. And we're going to take a look at these domains again. I'm going to go specifically to the vocabulary domain of this report, since it appears first, to the next steps section, because you received a second report called Florida Standards for the subject of reading. What this report does, you have one for reading and you have one for math. It shows you all of the standards for 6th grade for reading and for mathematics based on the Florida standards. And it's going to show you, based on the second diagnostic, whether your child likely understands the content, whether they only understand some of the content, or if they don't have sufficient understanding. Keep in mind that it's March 31st now, and the students took this assessment in January. Also keep in mind that the students in this group in particular transitioned to Columbia Homeroom at the end of January. So the learning that would have taken place would have been during the first semester when the students were still among the 4 teams A through D. So there's a lot of learning that's taken place since this assessment, but this would give you an idea. If you look next to the standard, at the end, you'll either see a green check mark, a clear check mark, or you'll see an X. Anywhere you see an X, it means that that's an area where your child will continue to need to develop. If you go to the next step sections of the report, and it shows you the things that your child needs to work on. If you go over to the Florida Standards report, to the section that says language, vocabulary, acquisition, and use, the standards that are associated with the can-dos will have a check mark. The ones that are considered as next steps for your child will be the ones that have the clear check mark, or there may be an X. So I forgot to explain that, and I apologize. So that's just another handy dandy guide you can use other than the iReady report. You have these same reports for mathematics. And just like with the ELA report, I'm on the math report now. If you see green dots for your child's performance, that's what we're wanting. That's great. If you see any yellows or reds, that means your child is performing at least 1 level or 2 levels below. I'm hoping that you see the plus sign on the math report as well. With the percentiles, we're looking for 50th percentile or higher, and that's a good indicator to know if your child is on course. We're going to talk about quantile measures. To understand those measures, you received a parent guide to quantile measures, and then you can look and see where your child fits in regards to that. We're going to go back to the same website we were on before. But before we do, I like the section of the document that says how to use quantile measures. If your child took the second iReady diagnostic, your child already has a quantile measure on their report. So we're going to move down to step 2, which is find math skills and concepts to help your child. So in order to be able to do that, we're going to go back to the same site that we were at before. The free tools and resources that you see here actually link to the same site we were on before. They just have different domain names for those sites. So we're going to take a look at step 2 and step 3, which is finding those math skills and then practicing those math skills. Based on your child's iReady report, for each section, just like with the reading report, you're going to see can-dos and you're going to see next steps. And so for your child in blue, you will see the skills that they need to work on at this point and build and become more proficient at. And that is for every section of the report. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over to the same site that we were at before. And you'll notice in the free tools and resources section, you see what's called Math at Home. We're going to go here to go and complete steps 2 and steps 3. And when we click on the link, we're actually on the math portion of the site. It's the exact same website we were at before, but it says Math at Home. With the Math at Home feature, to practice skills where your child needs to develop, you can use this site to select our state, which is the state of Florida. The grade level that your child is in is 6th grade. You can either indicate, based on whether math is easy for your child, whether your child is right at level, or if math is a challenge, or you can put in the quantile measure. And for our sample student from the iReady report, the quantile measure was 900. So that's what I'm going to type in here. Mr. Branch shared with me that there were some skills that many of the students need to develop in mathematics. And one of them just happened to be one that appeared on our sample students report. You can type in a keyword and it will narrow down your search. But based on this particular student's quantile measure, I'm just going to click search just so that you can see how the site works. For this particular student's quantile measure, there are 185 results available. This site shows you free web resources. So these are all free websites that have either activities or worksheets or math problems. I'm going to click. There are downloadable resources, which means these are resources that you can click on and download. And then there are print resources. So these are activities that can be printed out. I'm going to go back to web resources. And one area where a lot of students need help with is multiplying and dividing decimals. The less words you use in the keyword section, the better. So I'm going to click search. And that came up with no results for that particular child's quantile level. Sometimes I'll just take the quantile measure out and hit difficult. And we're going to try it again and see what happens. This time we have 66 results. So they have activities on adding and subtracting decimals, but we're going to just continue to go down. And there's a lesson here on estimating decimal products and quotients, which is the same as multiplying and dividing. And there's also a quiz here. So we're going to click on that. And I just wanted you to see some of the resources that were clicked on. All of these are free. For the downloadable activities, you're able to print them out Some of them have step-by-step directions, some of them don't. Like this particular one is a website. So going back over, I know greatest common factor is another skill that was shared by Mr. Branch and that appeared in the developed section of our sample students already report. So I'm going to click search. I'm going to put that quantile measure back in and click search again and see. Well, I'm going to take the quantile measure out. But if you type in at least the skill and whether math is difficult and click search, you do have to play with it a little bit, but it will show you web resources, downloadable resources, and print resources that can help your child practice any skills that they still need help on. I recommend first just typing in the quantile measure and taking out the keywords and just clicking search just to see what comes up. And then you can see all of the activities that are available. Then you can try drilling down, like if your child has a hard time with division or dividing, I'm just going to put the word divide and click search. Based on your child's quantile measure, they'll show you all the activities that are available for that particular skill. So the last item that, actually there are two more items, I apologize. One of the items that I also want to show you, in addition to math at home, I do also want to share that if your child uses this site to search, they don't have to sign up. It's just that when you sign up, you do have access to more materials and you can save items that you find. There's a summer math challenge that is being offered. It's free. Unfortunately, it doesn't begin until June 21st when some of the schools in the northern states in their school year, but it is something that your child can sign up for. And it's a challenge that lasts for 6 weeks, and it will give them an opportunity when they sign up. I'm just going to click add a student so you can see what happens. I typed in sample. Their most recent grade is 6th grade. And you can choose whether math is easy, just right, or difficult for your child. I'm going to click just right instead. I chose Columbia County, which is our particular county. Or instead of choosing one of these levels, you can just put your child's quantile measure in. And what it's going to do is it's going to give your child math challenge activities based on your child's quantile measure or based on whether math is easy, just right, or difficult for your child, and based on the grade level, and you click save. What will happen is a few weeks before the competition begins, you'll receive an email notice, but you have to be registered and it will send the notice to your email. But this is just a monitored way that your child can practice math over the summer. The last item that I want to share with you as parents is the growth planner. They have a growth planner for language arts and for mathematics. I'm just going to do the one for mathematics because it's going to be the same for both. The difference is you put in the quantile measure. The test month was January, 6th grade, and it shows the beginning of the school year. What it will give you is a recommended growth path for your child. And based on what your child's future goals are, Like if your child plans to attend a university or chooses a career that only requires, community college or workforce ready when they finish high school, it can show you what your child is going to need to be able, the level your child needs to be able to perform at by that time. And I'm going to click submit. They do have an add measure feature, but I'm not going to use that. I just wanted to show you that it was there. If you click submit, it shows where the child is currently performing. This blue space shows your child's pathway for math readiness for college or careers. What this yellow range shows is where the fundamental level is for college or career readiness. So your child will need to score between this level in order to be college or career ready in terms of their mathematics, or if this were reading, in terms of college level reading based on what they're going to pursue. You could also add a particular career in here. Let's say, for example, if your child wants to be a lawyer, you could add that career and it would show you the level of math your child would need to have in order to pursue that career. And it does the same thing for reading. There's even a site that you can go to called ONET Careers that you can explore, and not just with your sixth grader, but if you have older children. And what it does is you can look up different occupations and you can see the skill levels that are required for those particular jobs. And I thought that that was really neat. But this one site has resources that are available for reading and for math that can just help your child to grow and just continue to improve over time. I'm so sorry that I took so long. I usually don't take this long. So I'm going to transition over to Mr. Branch. And if you have any questions about this portion of the presentation, please feel free to put them in the chat, or you can ask them at the end.
Okay, thank you, Miss Kelly. Hey, y'all. How y'all doing? Good. Okay. So, like Miss Kelly said, there are a few skills that I thought were important because they were skills from first semester. And I feel like those skills really need to be reiterated and reviewed. And unfortunately, we're not going to have time to completely review them through school. So those skills were, let's see, adding and subtracting, like Ms. Kelly said, adding and subtracting, multiplying and dividing decimals in math. And then greatest common factor, least common multiple, ratios, dividing fractions, and long division. Those are things that sixth graders typically struggle with. And like I said, those were the skills that were covered first semester. And I just wanted to make sure that they had extra practice with those. So Ms. Kelly has some resources, and all those resources she showed you that can get you onto those skills. And also some things they can do is Khan Academy. And I know I spoke to some of the parents about Khan Academy already. It's a free resource. You can go on and sign up for an account. The parent can get an account, the child can get an account. And you can go on there and you can click on sixth grade math for a course. And you can have the student go back and do all of those skills that I was just talking about, in addition to the current skills that they're learning. And it's a website that basically gives you a video, and then it gives you practice problems that go with what the guy's talking about in the video. And they're very helpful. And I will tell you that when I first started teaching sixth grade math, that it was very helpful to help me know how to teach the material to the sixth graders. So it's a really, really good resource, and I really recommend that for math. Vocabulary is another thing that I've been using. That's another great resource for them to make sure that they're understanding the read and responds, because those have the paragraphs that talk about the math skills. And just make sure they're kind of working out their math on paper, and you can kind of see where they're working it out so that they understand how to do it. Because when they do take the FSA test, they will not be able to use a calculator. So make sure that they know how to work out those problems without using a calculator. We have an FSA math countdown packet, and that's I'm gonna have copies of that printed and put in the front office. And if you would like, you can come up and pick up a copy of that. And it's kind of a long packet, but it's a really good review, and it goes over all of the skills. So if they can do that packet, then they will have no problem on the FSA. That's pretty much all I have for math as far as that goes. They could do flashcards to like memorize their math facts, or use like multiplication.com just to make sure they have them ingrained in their brain, because like I said, they won't be able to use the calculator. So for language arts, the most important thing I would say they could do for language arts is to read anything, whatever they like to read, just read, and make sure they can point out things like the plot, like what's happening in the story, what's the main idea, what's it mostly about, what's the theme, the overall lesson that you're learning from that story. And those are big questions that they will see on the FSA for reading. There's also a countdown packet for language arts for reading, which I will have copied and put in the front office for you to come pick up if you would like. And that's pretty much all I have. iReady, like Ms. Kelly went over the iReady to see how the report works and what it shows, but I will tell you that iReady is very much in line with FSA. We have been able to tell the students that made growth in iReady in previous years actually performed very well on FSA. So those two correlate very, very good together. So if your student is working in iReady and they're passing lessons and they're understanding what they're doing, then they're doing a great job. And if they're making growth, then they should do well on that test. All right, Ms. Kelly, I think that's all I have. Do we have any questions? Do you guys have any questions for us?
When is FSA?
Okay. I am working with Ms. Johnson, our guidance counselor, who is doing the tests, to get those dates set up and sent out to everybody so everybody has it. So I will be getting that out to you probably the beginning of next week. Okay.
And the kids are going to be coming to school every day, part of the day, all day.
Okay, so the way it's going to work is Columbia Homeroom students will come and take their test at a different time from the rest of the school. They will come. I have a room next to my computer lab that we're going to use for testing them, and they're going to be all spread out. So they'll come. There's a bus loop over by the cafeteria. They'll come in there. My room is right by the bus loop. So they'll just enter right there. They won't even go to the rest of the part of the school. And they'll do their test they'll either have a morning group or an afternoon group. I don't know specifically which one your students will be, but that will be included in the information that will go out next week. And so they'll be in there for approximately an hour. The writing test is an hour and a half. So I think it's an hour and a half. Pretty sure it's an hour and a half. It's been a while since I did writing, but
It's 85 minutes.
okay. So yeah,
So you're
close to it. So then they'll be working for whatever time, and there'll be a specific time that they'll tell you when to come back and pick them up and all that kind of stuff. So we'll have all that information, and we'll be sending that out next week. So have your students make sure they're checking their emails, because it'll go out in their emails, letting them know. And then I'll be doing a call out to the parents to let them know, hey, make sure you see the email about the FSA test. So
Colby said to tell you hi.
hi, Colby. All right, well, Miss Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. Branch. I'm just making a quick note to talk to Mr. Carter also once the Columbia Homeroom notifications go out, so that a call out can be done to those families to let them know that it was sent out to the kids' email addresses. So they'll know to look for it.
Yes, ma'am. So do y'all have anything else for us? Any other questions?
Registration packets for 7th grade. I got a
Okay.
call about
Yes, ma'am.
little information.
Yes. So what those sheets are for them to select their elective classes. Of course, their core classes will be what they are for their grade level, but the elective classes, they get to rank them in order of which ones they would prefer. And those packet, or I think it's just one piece of paper, it's available in the front office for you to come up and pick up. And they just, like I said, they just rate the electives from 1 to 10. Like if they really want PE, they need to make that number 1. If they really want band, they put that number 1, and so on and so forth. The paper pretty much explains it all, but that's all that was for.
Right. We just received the forms yesterday from LCMS. And so I haven't had an opportunity to find out for our Columbia Homeroom students, if that's going to be sent to you all digitally, or if it's something you all are going to have to come and pick up. So that's something that, I can find out, and then we can let you all know. We did have a few questions that were submitted in advance, many by people who let us know they weren't going to be able to attend tonight, but we're going to be sending the recording to them. So I'm just going to transition to that really quickly. And one of the questions that was asked was about the course selections for LCMS. You should see a screen that says questions from the RSGA Ask It basket. I'm hoping that's what you're seeing. If not, just do this.
Yeah, we see it.
Great. Some of the questions, because you all are on Columbia Homeroom, a lot of the answers are things that many of you knew already, but we do have some who did not know. One question came in about how parents can see their children's grades. And so we always encourage everyone to sign up for the Focus Parent Portal. You're going to receive the Ask It basket questions, and all the web links that are in here are active. But for anyone who's not registered in the parent portal, you can click the link to sign up, and you can view current grades at any time. And also if there's information that needs to be updated, including phone numbers, including emergency contacts, for when you do return to brick and mortar, that can be done as well. We had a parent to ask about missing assignments. And so in regards to this issue, we decided to put this on the presentation for everyone. This one was from a different team, but if you notice that your child has a missing assignment at any time, these are just some things that we recommend families do. Our in-person students all received a planner, and for the Columbia Homeroom students who came through the drive-through at the beginning of the year, we issued planners there as well. We recommend having kids list all of their assignments and upcoming tests and project due dates in their planners so that they can learn how to use the planner as an organizer, especially their homework assignments. If you see an assignment in focus that you don't understand the description of, we recommend that you contact the teacher for that particular subject with the name of the assignment and ask for more details. Also, we recommend asking your child to show you what Google Classroom looks like, show you what iReady looks like, and any other online programs that are used so that you can see how assignments are given and how they're submitted or turned in, so that it will eliminate some questions about why your child received a 0 for an online assignment and they're telling you they turned it in when actually they may have done it, but they didn't submit it. If you have an opportunity just to go in and look at the format for all of your child's online programs so that you can see how those things are done. We also recommend working with your child to create a system on organizing their assignments for all of their classes, either using an online planner or an in-person planner. And I'm assuming that online, it may be a challenge, but it can be done. And if you need help with that, that's a lot of the skill set I'm having to learn this year. So you can reach out to me and just continue to check the parent portal for grades. We had a parent to ask for a list of the standards. So we shared with you the standard reports for ELA and math. I also shared a link to the annual meeting open house presentation we sent out at the beginning of the year. We shared a lot of resources there, including all of the Florida 6th grade standards for language arts, math, world history, and science. So we included a link for those, along with a link for online tutorials offered by floridastudents.org. So for some of the skills Mr. Branch shared, Florida Students is another resource you can use to find tutorials that will help your child. For the FSA and getting ready for FSA, Mr. Branch shared about the countdown packets that are going to be made available. But we also have what we've been working on, and we're going to post digitally, are our typical FSA nights because we can't do them in person. We're going to send out 2 short videos, one for English language arts and one for math, the 2 domains that we'll be testing in. I'm just giving you a preview of what you're going to see now. They would have gone out already. We're waiting for my voice to return so that I can do the recording, and you'll be able to get more helpful information that will help your child get ready for FSA. I do have the Columbia Homeroom dates as well, and we're going to put those in the presentation so you'll see those also. All right, almost done.
Ms. Kelley, can I go back to the missing assignments question?
Sure.
Okay, so there was a recommendation to use a planner, and you will notice on Google Classroom that I put a schedule each week for all of the assignments and what they should do each day in order to complete those assignments by the end of each week. So that's another thing, that if they have a planner or something that they, like a notebook, they could write that schedule down that I post so that they can look at it on their paper and say, okay, I got to get this done, and this done today. That way I know by Friday, it'll all be finished for this week.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
All right, 7th grade class selections. Mr. Branch just shared with you about the elective classes. If you go to, there's a link that I put on here that LCMS has posted to YouTube. Usually they host an in-person education fair where you get to see the teachers and learn more about the classes that are available. This year, due to distancing, they've created a video that's on the LCMS, Lake City Middle School's website on their homepage. But I also included a direct link to the video. So that you can see it. I'm not sure if you can see the YouTube side or not. It's loading. But the Ask It Basket questions you receive, it's going to have the link to that video. And you can learn, you and your child can learn about the electives they offer, and that'll help you to know what they have to choose from. Also on their website, they have information for incoming 7th graders, about them being required to have a Tdap booster shot before school starts prior to the beginning of 7th grade. And that's annually, every entering group of 7th graders. And you'll receive the phone number to the LCMS nurse if you have any questions about that. And then these are just some general things that we're sharing that can help your child be successful in school. Pretty much everyone that's present and the people who registered has had at least one parent conference this school year. We're going to be sharing all the web links that we shared with you tonight that you haven't received previously. We're going to post the FSA videos and you'll receive the countdown packets. But with anything that we share, if you need just for us to break things down a little more or just needing help with what to start first, you can either reach out to Mr. Branch or to myself. My phone numbers and email address are in the email you receive, or you can text me through Remind, and then that's something that we can individually do together. So we've provided quite a bit, and we just want to know if you all have anything you'd like to share with us or any final questions you have for us. Or any comments?
I want to say how much we appreciate having some of the pressure taken off by having one teacher do the core classes. That has been so helpful. And as he said, having that schedule put out every week, even if she doesn't follow it, it's there. And this week is a short week. So she looked at the schedule in her own mind and figured out what she was going to do every day so her work could be completed. And it really helps a lot.
Thank you for that.
I agree with what she just said. I thought it was going to be a disaster, actually, when they took those teachers away and gave us Mr. Branch. But Mr. Branch, we adore you. We love what you do. You're doing a great job. We appreciate you. And my daughter loves you. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
I appreciate that. Thank you. And you're welcome.
Well, thank you all so much just for showing Mr. Branch some love. Yay! Mr. Branch gets some love from the kids and the parents.
Right.
7 o'clock at night. That is awesome. That doesn't happen very often. So we're going to take it. Thank you all so much for attending. Are there any final thoughts? And I'm just going to share. If not, thank you for giving us this hour. You will receive the recording. I just need to go through and do some edits, so it may take a couple of days before I'm able to get it out, along with the websites we shared and the other information we shared. And I am going to find out about the electives form, because I'd like to know if it's something, even if you have to turn it in person, if we can at least send it to you digitally.
Well, I had looked into it, and they told me it was available in the front office. That was what I was told. So if you do want a digital copy, or if you want me to email you the page, I can do that. I can just scan it in and email it to you. Just send me an email requesting that, and I'll do that. Okay.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Branch, I don't know what kind of scanner you have. Mine, if you just feed it through, it just does it. So that's something that if you have, I don't have a copy of the form yet, but if you have it, that's something I can do and just send it to you, and then you can share
okay.
it.
Yes, ma'am. I do have a copy of it, and I can scan it in and email it out. Just request it if you're not able to come to the school and pick it up.
Okay. But yes, we do recommend visiting LCMS's website if you want to learn more.
But Mr. Branch,
Yes, Ms. Bruce,
before we
please go
go,
ahead.
your countdown packet that you're going to make available for the
Mhm.
FSA, when will that be available?
It will be in the office on Monday.
Okay.
It takes a while.
And
to
do
run
we
those
need
back.
to specifically request one? In other words, I don't think you're going to make a bunch if not a lot of people want it. I want to say, I want one, please.
Mhm. Yes, well, we did have a few extras from the ones that they made here at school. We're not gonna make a ton, but if someone comes, I'll have an extra one. I can make a copy of it if someone comes, if we don't have enough. But yes, there will be one for you, I promise.
Well, we definitely want one as well, please.
Okay. Yep.
And I also have the packet. So if Mr. Branch is teaching or working with Edgenuity during the day or online with the kids, then Ms. Matt Vetter usually calls me. So it's something I can provide as well.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, any more questions? Anything else? Thank you all so much for joining us tonight. And if you need anything from us, just reach out. Yeah, we're here. We want to help. And I'm so glad you all got placed with Mr. Branch. He's an amazing teacher, which you all have already shared.
Agreed. And thank you,
So I'm
Miss
just gonna-
Kelly.
Yes, thank you,
I'm
Kelly.
just gonna, and thank you, Mr. Branch, just for participating in doing this and offering this and giving people a chance to connect. I'm just gonna bid everyone a good night. You all can log off at any time because I still have some things I'm working on here, but I'm just gonna say good night.
Thank you
night.
again.
You're welcome. Bye.